In today's episode of the Pathfind Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Kyle Asbury, and he's hailing over as the Director of Sales and Marketing at Vodia. And Vodia has a very interesting solution in the telephone system space for the modern workplace. And today we want to really dive deep into what this is all about, what Vodia is doing for their clients, but also we want to talk about partnership models again, because I think Vodia, from what we know, is doing fantastic work in that regard as well. So yeah, let's dive into today's episode. Pleasure to meet you and have you on the show, Kyle.
Pleasure to meet you too, Lucas. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So, give us a 360 overview. What is Vodia all about?
So Vodia, we are a phone system manufacturer based here in Burlington, Massachusetts, right outside of Boston. We cater to the customers all the way ranging from SMB all the way to enterprise, from all different types of verticals, albeit healthcare, hospitality, etc.
That makes sense. And who within those companies would you say is typically, the champion? Like who brings the tool on board? Who is, vouching for it within their organizations? And what is typically the challenges that they have before they bring on board?
Typically the buy-in is certainly talking to the right person, which is in our case, the IT director or the CTO at a company. They usually have most buy-in power as far as what type of phone system is going to be put into their network and their environment. So that's usually who we try to talk to and do business with.
That makes sense. And what would you say, how do these directors, get to know about the solution? Like, what's their way to get in touch with your solution? I mean, we mentioned already in our pre-chat the partnership model there. Maybe share a little bit on that. But maybe tell us, from not knowing about your solution, how do they actually get to start using it?
Yeah, fantastic. So we actually operate via the channel. So we actually resell. We have resellers globally that resell our product. From managed service providers to ITSPs, anyone in the telephony space. And they actually have their own marketing, and we actually do our own marketing as well, being channel focused. So we do a lot of trainings, we do a lot of educating via classroom style, especially since COVID. I think the Zoom topic has been a big one for us. We do a lot of webinars monthly. So we're pretty active. We think it's important to constantly educate, our customer base and attract definitely more strategic partnerships.
If we talk about the resellers for a moment, what makes a good reseller? Are those agencies? Are those, maybe tell us a bit about them and how they look like.
Yeah, so our ideal partner is someone who is selling their own services, is taking care about the billing, is deploying phones, is creating their own package, and have a really sound services model to where they're taking not only our software but maybe phones or other appliances to make a complete solution. Partners that have this ability, or even startups that are looking to go this direction, those are the partners that really, I think I have an idea about and being a one-stop shop and creating value for their customer base.
Yeah, that makes sense. And is that something where, without going into details, but because we have had discussions about partnership models a lot on the podcast. What if very often partners look for, what is in it for me? How can I drive more revenue for my business? How I can grow, my reselling business? What would you tell us? What would you tell those folks?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's always the big one, right? How can I benefit from this, right? And the true differentiator between us and I think of a lot of manufacturers is that we empower our partners to sell their own brand and create their own packages and retain control of their customer base, essentially, right? Because what happens with these bigger telcos is, yeah, they provide the all-in-one, but yet who owns the data at that time? Who owns the customer? So I think it's important that we empower our partners to sell their own brand. We provide them with the proper training, create their own packages, and that creates a real sticky customer, right? They're not going anywhere. And that the logo on their phone should be their logo, not somebody else's. So sell your own brand, I think, is the key here.
That makes a whole lot of sense. Those resellers, like, how do they learn about you guys? Like, is it more like an inbound model, an outbound model? What role does the website play? Maybe tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, so what we do is we try to be pretty involved in partner or IT events, channel events, IT Expo, channel partners, and these type of things for brand awareness and to attract new partnerships and strategic ones at that. So yeah, we're very active. We do webinars. We do a lot on Google with SEO. So I think, in conjunction with all these things, I think gets us out there and makes our presence felt.
Very cool. I mean, typically when we have growth leaders on the show, they're always very critical with the website that they have. There's always something that needs improvement. How do you think about it? Like, what is sort of a strength of the website for those resellers, you think, or on the flip side, where do you see room for improvement?
Yeah, so we actually just did a complete overhaul of our website, and I think it is it's the face of the company, right? It's the first look a lot of times. But I think we've done a pretty good job of really spelling out what's important, not only for the MSP or the ITSP, right, but also for the end user, because the end user also needs to know what are they getting out of a phone system. They don't understand all these jargons, right? They don't understand MSP or ITSP or cloud, or they just want to know, hey, look, I need a new phone system. So we need to make sure that message is also clear on our website, right? And that way, what happens is those inquiries become then opportunities for our resellers if we do get an end user opportunity, right? So we want to make sure that that gets properly vetted and handled and off to one of our partners that can service the customer.
That makes sense. I really appreciate that insight. It's very quite interesting to deep dive in that partnership model and which pieces make for a successful model. I would like to switch gears a little bit. We talked about what you guys are doing. We talked a bit about growth. I have a couple of questions to get to know you and your journey as a leader in sales and marketing a bit better. The first thing I would like to ask you is, there's so much content out there on what you could read to educate yourself, to bring in new techniques, new growth channels. Where do you like to read? How do you filter from all the noise out there?
Well, I mean, I think it's important to just always stay on top of what's going on in the market. There's a lot of evolution going on with acquisitions. So I think it's more just important to read, like Telecom Reseller is a big one that we work closely with. I think just staying in the know, knowing what your competition is out there and not always looking behind, but once in a while you have to look behind, but more focused on the, forward thinking and what's the next best thing for our customer base.
To wrap it up for today, I have some rapid fire questions. Are you ready for those?
Let's go.
What's the last book you read?
Oh, wow. Hot seat, huh? I would say,
Or the last podcast you listened to. I can give you the choice here.
Yeah, I would say I would even back it up a bit. I would say the last interview I watched was with Steve Jobs on failure. That was the most recent one I watched over again, right? I mean, that was back in like the early 90s, but I mean, it's just really inspiring when, he talks about, the person that doesn't ask the questions, right? So I think it's important we ask for the business as well. So that was a big one for me.
Very cool. What's the one single thing your company is focused on the most at the moment?
I think we have a more vertical focus right now. We think there's a lot of opportunities in creating value in certain vertical markets, such as the medical fields and healthcare. We became HIPAA compliant a couple years back, so I think a lot of focus is honing in on that opportunity because there's a lot of practices out there that obviously are looking for solutions that fit under that HIPAA compliancy. So when we do that, we're one of the few, if not the only, phone system that is HIPAA compliant. So that's a focus. We think we can create value in many other industries where, there's integrations. I think integrations is key. I think we need to be able to go to a customer and say, yes, Vodia can fit in your environment with your current CRM. So we have APIs to do that.
Very cool. Next question would be, if there would be no boundaries in tech, right? Everything is possible. What's the one thing you would fix for your role today?
No boundaries in tech. What's the
You have a
one thing I would?
magic wand. What would you fix for your role?
The one thing I would fix is just making sure that, you know, the right person answered the phone every time.
Simple as it is, that is very good. I like it. Very good. And to wrap it up for today, I would like to do a bit of time travel and go back to the days of Villanova University, if you allow. We go back to the days. So you're heading out of formal education into the world of sales, and then later sales and marketing. What's the one advice you would give yourself for your journey?
I would say ask for the business, and I would say establish a network with people around you that are thought leaders, and expand your network at an early stage. And don't burn bridges. If a business deal doesn't work out, it's okay to keep that relationship alive, because you never know if another opportunity may present itself
Mm.
later on with that same person. So I think the relationship and network has to be intact. And yeah, I think that's prevalent.
That's great. Kyle, appreciate you took the time with us today. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about Vodia today, what's the one thing they should remember?
Innovation.
Simple as it is. Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pavan Presents.
Thank you, Lucas. Have a great day.